Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So a quick update for you. Taurus reading went up and went down. I was really uncomfortable with it because it was talking about things that kind of like politics and religion, which you're not meant to really talk about, right? So I just got really uncomfortable with it because sometimes when I'm channeling, I'm just channeling, the thoughts of the collective consciousness or like what somebody's personally feeling or thinking, and I just kind of let it flow, and it's not always necessarily what I agree with. So without watching the reading back, I just felt really uncomfortable that because it's like my thoughts aren't my own, I got worried about being misinterpreted. So I took the reading kind of down. I made it private, but hopefully those of you who are waiting on it and who are ready for it got to see it. Anyone who didn't see it and kind of wants to watch it, kind of, if you just let me know, I might send you the link or something like that. We'll kind of see. I'm kind of hesitant about that. And I may also kind of redo it. I may actually edit the video and just kind of put a shortened version up, which some of you are like, yay, about. But yeah, just generally there's something really not good in the collective consciousness at the moment. There's something really off and I'm struggling with it. So we are approaching Halloween, right? And I like Halloween, I like dressing up. I'm quite theatrical, so I like being a bit spooky myself. But like I think because a lot of people are kind of like watching horror movies and watching scary things, because it gets into the collective consciousness, which is kind of like, if enough people do it, like if enough people are engaging with a certain thing, I'll start to pick up on it with my intuitive abilities. So if, for example, like I've gone to watch like big movies, like blockbuster movies that a lot of people have been to see already, and I'll be like, oh, I've been channeling this all week in my readings, like because the iconography or certain like motifs or like totems like will come through, sort of in my, as I tap into the consciousness, right, as I meditate and kind of invite the messages in. It's like I've been and watched, like, for example, June, the movie Dune, June. It was like I'd seen the movie before because it was so familiar to me because I channeled it that much. So yeah, and Star Wars as well. There was a Star Wars movie that I was like, oh my God, I like word for word, like full on sentences from it. I was like, I got that this week. I got that this week. So it's happened this week as well. So much so that I actually had to take a day off work yesterday. Luckily, I've got a very understanding boss. And I actually wasn't going to take the full day off. I kind of said, oh, I'm going to need a short day today. The reason why was because I finished Taurus's reading, and I don't know, there's something about the Gemini energy this month, or again, it doesn't necessarily have to be Gemini. It could just be collective consciousness because everybody's watching spooky things, right? Horror movies and stuff. I had the worst night's sleep. Every time I fell asleep, I had a nightmare. It was awful. And so I woke up in the morning and I thought I didn't want to leave the house. So I don't know if somebody feels a little bit like agoraphobic, kind of like I'm scared to go outside. Almost like it had this feeling of like, that film Final Destination? It's like something's gonna get me, right? It's like so again, this kind of paranoia, this kind of it just felt like fear, like real fear. And I'm not a person who normally, like, of course I feel fear. I'm not kind of immune to feeling scared, but I'm normally quite good at dealing with my fear, and this felt like the fear was taking over. I was really scared. And I was like, this is not me. This is not normal for me. What is this, right? So, like I say, I rang my boss and I said, I was scared of leaving the house. I was scared of going to work. And so, yeah, they managed without me. Like, they're amazing. But I managed to have a really good sleep last night. So, in the end, I figured I did a reading on it, basically. And I did a reading on myself and on me reading. I was like, is this what I'm meant to be doing right now? Because sometimes it makes me feel like I'm going crazy. Sometimes it's really draining on me, like with this empty well time to replenish. The reason why I'm kind of like explaining this is I feel like it's connected to your energy somehow. So this might be something that you encounter in November. I'm reading ahead for November. You may come to a point where you think, oh my goodness, this is exhausting me, or my fears surrounding this situation are getting too much to handle now. So again, it could even be something like, maybe it is work. Maybe you've got a lot of anxiety about going back to your workplace. I don't know why I said going back to your workplace. Maybe it's something like, maybe something about like lockdown. You know, a lot of places kind of went into working from home, and then gradually they've kind of been like rolling out, you know, integration back into the workplace kind of thing. So it could be something like that where, you know, you've through the process of being isolated and being at home, you've actually developed some kind of agoraphobia where, you know, like big crowds can be quite scary to you. You know, a big loud workplace could be very um like you know, like gives you headaches and things like that. So it could be something like that, which again, most places have a HR department. You can speak to them. You know, they should be understanding of kind of like mental health issues or anything that you're going through in that department. But I was also getting something through about what things were like before. So if you roll back to like, if you've been at a workplace for a very long time and you roll back to like 4 or 5 years ago, like pre-COVID, to like when times were good, it could be like watching old videos back. Say, for example, like if you filmed like an office party, or, you know, like old photos or something like that. And it could be, you know, you remember the vibe and you remember how comfortable you were with these people. That could be really helpful to you. But again, maybe things have changed, right? Maybe the atmosphere's changed, maybe the energy's changed. It could be something like that. Um, anyway, there's definitely something coming through about, it feels a bit like, what's that Muppets Christmas Carol, right? The oh, who's the author now? I can only think of Poe, which I'll come back to. Charles Dickens, right? A Christmas Carol. I'm getting A Nightmare Before Christmas, so I don't know if like the Tim Burton film A Nightmare Before Christmas is meaningful to anyone as well. It could, again, I could just be channeling general spooky movies because it's that time of the year, especially like coming up to Christmas. We get a lot kind of those kind of movies coming like on the telly and stuff as well. So I'm just gonna reset. Hang on, I can feel myself getting fuzzy. Just give me a second. Okay, a little reset there. Yeah, I Gemini energy is doing a number on me recently. I think again, I had all these nightmares and I was like really scared. And I was like, I think this is Gemini, because Gemini's been feeling really kind of fractured and scatty when I've been tapping into their energy. So, again, I'm not saying this is you personally, just something to do with the sign itself is making me kind of very, very um, yeah, like fractures is a good way, like very scatty, very fractured. I have got a Gemini moon, so I'm getting like your mind could be playing tricks on you. Again, just that feeling of A Nightmare Before Christmas. You know how he's like seeing the ghosts of Christmas past, and he's like, he feels like he's being visited by ghosts. So I ended up watching yesterday The House of Usher, The Fall of the House of Usher. It's on Netflix. It's a new thing that's come out, and that's what I've been channeling. Like 100%, like every single motif in it has been in my cards, like the black cat, like literally I might put a little video in of just before I started your reading. I kind of got this is what I mean, like these are all the cards that came out of my own deck. Now normally I get one or two and they everything came out. It's like it's too much. So again, you could be getting very overwhelmed. Your thoughts could be overwhelming. There could just be too much going on, right? It's like too much for you to process. But yeah, just so much came out. And my black cat had his paw on the Pluto card. I know, I was like, that's so funny because Pluto is a black cat in the Fall of the House of Usher. But yeah, the black cat, there's something about a wall in it. And again, I'm not going to do spoilers, but it's really good. You should definitely go and watch it if you're in the right place to do so. But like I say, it's like everything that I'd been experiencing between doing Taurus's reading and between watching that TV show was the TV show. So again, a lot of people are watching this. It's in the collective consciousness. It's absolutely coming out in my cards. I'm picking up on it in the energy. But it could be that somebody's experiencing this. So again, without giving too many spoilers or anything like that, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but you know, it's quite psychological, and it does discuss the topic of like your mind playing tricks on you, or, you know, seeing things and being like, is that really there? So Aries had this thing about being haunted or feeling haunted, like they brought something back with them from a place, right? There's that guy who's took a bit of the Transylvanian castle back within Vlad the Impaler's castle, and like now he thinks he's being haunted, right? And whether this is a real thing that's happening, or whether it's our mind playing tricks on us, or our, you know, something about our own fears manifesting. So maybe it is something about our own fears manifesting, kind of like be careful what you think about, because what you think about you bring about. So there could be something like that. But yeah, I feel like you've got November could be a month where you feel like your mind is playing tricks on you. You're seeing things and you're like, is that really there? Did I really experience that? You know, kind of distorted reality. Um, Again, not trying to scare anyone, but kind of something to be aware of, because I think there is something in this point of the reading where self-awareness is key, right? Being self-aware and analyzing yourself, and not just kind of being scared of something, not just reacting to something because you see it, right? But analyzing it and being like, right, is that really there? What can I do to figure out if that's really there or not? And so it could be that somebody has some mental health issues that they need to get checked out. But I get the feeling that somebody may not be aware that they have mental health issues that they need to get checked out, right? So it's kind of like that thing of experiencing something and maybe feeling quite isolated, and being really, really kind of what's that phrase, like, can't see the wood for the trees. It's like when you're in the forest, with all these shadows, um, you're reactive, right? You're just scared and reacting to the shadows. Where, if you were able to have that higher perspective, you'd be able to be like, it's kind of like watching a horror movie, when people always, I think, the scary movie, the kind of parody of Scream, they're kind of saying that they always run up the stairs, or, they always kind of like, one will break off from the group. And you're watching the horror movie and it's like, because of these motifs, you're like, that's not what they're meant to do. You're like, no, don't do that. Don't go off on your own, or like, don't run up the stairs, and kind of, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like watching the movie. You're able to say, don't do that. You should do this. You should do this. And kind of like, I would never do that. I would never do this. And then, like, when you're actually in the moment, people make stupid decisions, right? Because the fear takes over, the kind of monkey mind takes over. So there could be an element of that. And again, I'm not trying to scare you. It could literally be something like you're going into a haunted house, right? And you freak out a little bit inside the haunted house. And again, I don't want to speak anything to existence, but it just feels like something like that. Or maybe even having a panic attack, if this is a work thing for you, because you've got, like, looks like the Three of Pentacles to me on this card. It could be like going into work and having a little bit of, maybe a touch of agoraphobia, and being in a crowd and kind of like panicking a little bit and having a bit of a panic attack. And it's kind of like when you're in the middle of it, you kind of, your mind takes over, right? The fear takes over, and you kind of need someone to kind of like sit you down and be like, calm down, right? Breathe, well, calm down, that doesn't help. Calm down, calm your tits, sir. It doesn't necessarily help if you're having a panic attack, but having the person who's kind of like, right, breathe in, breathe out, everything's fine, I'm sat with you, the things that you need to say. And if this isn't you, it could be somebody around you. But again, you've got the Seven of Air, which I knew was going to come out. It's a very Gemini card. It is a card about being deceptive. I feel like there's something about self-deception. But then after this, it's got Wizard of Awareness and Realization. So it's like you're realizing something about where you've deceived yourself, or... And again, this might not be personal to you. It could just be like collective Gemini energy. But because you're the twins, right? Because you are this... the yin and the yang, the masculine, the feminine, the kind of like, you're the you and the mirror version of you. There is something coming through about your own shadow, right? And we all have a shadow. I'm not kind of calling you out and saying you're a bad person. We all have, our persona and our shadow. This is Carl Jung and his philosophy. And it is coming through for you, right? The beauty card looks to me like, your mask that you wear. The first card in your reading, he looks like he's wearing a mask. So the idea of being masked and unmasked, because then you go to like shark and purpose. This feels a bit more like your shadow, which again, I will get into as we dive into the reading. And maybe learning to love yourself and having self-acceptance for the good parts and the bad parts of you. It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And embracing those parts of yourself. And it doesn't mean that you give your shadow liberty to do whatever it wants. If you want to talk about the id and the ego and the super ego as well, it's not like you just give your dark side free reign to do whatever it wants to do and kind of have that devil rule you. But it could be like, I need to give it expression, right? Whether this is kind of through keeping a diary and, you know, saying all the bad stuff that you can't say out loud, or, you know, even like ripping it up and burning it so it's gone, like nobody can read it, or whether it's just, you know, it's doing cosplay or dressing up, or, you know, acting out parts in movies, even if, again, even if no one sees you, if you want to kind of go full like Goblin King, or like full, you know, Maleficent or something in your own room, you know, and like put the, you know, dress up and be kind of really, act out that kind of really evil scene, you know, just as a catharsis, just to kind of get it out, just to give that part of yourself, you know, the expression, and not kind of bottle it up and have it become something explosive. And again, you might be like, no, I'm the best person in the world, I don't have any evil tendencies. Oh, you do, and you're the worst kind, because the people who don't know they've got a shadow are like totally ruled by the shadow, right? You really got to look in the mirror and see it about yourself to get a handle on it. Like, they are the worst people. They are the worst people. The ones that are like, no, I'm such a God-fearing, like, I don't know. Like, yeah, that is like always rotten underneath, right? There's something rotten in the state of Denmark. Sorry, this could be something about European cities as well. I've got Venice, and then agoraphobia as well. Agora's the Greek word for the marketplace, which is where the word comes from. So yeah, there could be something about European cities. Yeah, haunted nightmares. So one of my dreams. This is a really funny one, but I don't know. I didn't want to share all my nightmares with you, but there was one specific one that feels like, I feel like I should share it. So, you know, sleep paralysis demons. People say, oh, I'm a sleep paralysis demon. So there is a scientific explanation for this. And basically, when you're dreaming, there's some kind of plane or helicopter in the sky. It's kind of bothering me. When you're dreaming, what your body should do when you go into like REM sleep, right, deep sleep, when you start to dream and visualize and, you know, have those kind of dream adventures, your body's meant to go into paralysis, and it's to stop you hurting yourself, right? And so sleepwalking is basically a fault with your brain, where your brain doesn't go into paralysis mode when you're dreaming, so you actually start walking around. So yeah, like sleep paralysis, it has an actual function. It's something that's meant to happen. But what can sometimes happen is, if you wake up suddenly from a dream, perhaps you have a nightmare and it scares you, and you wake up, your brain continues dreaming, right? So you're having the hallucinations of the dream, but you are awake and you can't physically move your body because your brain hasn't told your body to move yet. So a lot of people have this, where I had it once. The first time I had it, I was maybe about 14, and my sleep paralysis demon looked like Lenny Kravitz. So that obviously became a huge joke about like, oh, I wouldn't mind if Lenny Kravitz was my sleep paralysis demon. So yeah, I don't know. It's not funny though. It's not funny when you're experiencing it, right? It's really, really scary. And it was scary for me kind of when I was having all these nightmares. But this one's funny because I was having this dream of this pigeon and I couldn't get this pigeon off me. And that's when I woke up, right? That's when I had the sleep paralysis. So my sleep paralysis was a bloody pigeon. But it was really annoying. Like I couldn't get it off me, right? I couldn't like flap it away. This pigeon's just walking around on me. So I'm taking it as a message, right? Because pigeons, I don't know why I associate them with like postmen. I think there was like a post box in this dream, like a red post box. So there could be something about pigeons, messages, letters. Oh, I know why, because pigeons used to carry messages like during the war, right? Homing pigeons, they used to carry like the notes on their little feet, didn't they? So I like pigeons. So yeah, I feel like there's something about getting a note, getting a letter, but it could be something that you've got fear around. Maybe it's some kind of results letter, and so you're scared to open the results letter, or like you know, a package that you're scared to open, which again came out without too many spoilers in the Fall of the House of Usher. Go and watch it. It's a cool film, right? So Shake It Off was the song that played for you when I started your reading, by Florence and the Machine. All the songs that you've got all have this theme of like, let me just go through all my screenshots of all the songs that I've been screenshotting for you. I'm like, it calmed me down actually, because I was really scared. And then when I realised it's like, no, these are all messages for Gemini, I was like, oh, okay. I'm a bit less scared now. Sorry, Gemini. Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody, right? Again, I really want to put the disclaimer out there that it's spooky season. Like, people are watching horror movies, people are like enjoying being scared or not enjoying being scared. Tis the season, and I'm gonna be picking up on it. I can't help it. But yeah, look at this, like Billie Eilish here. Like, you see her eyes? Ah. So this was the first song that came out for you, 8 by Billie Eilish. I was like, oh my God, it's Gemini, 100%. And then, so yeah, so it says, I came committed, and committed made me think of like being committed, right? I came committed, guess I overdid it, wore my heart out on a chain around my neck, but now it's missing. So, yeah. And she's talking about being in love with somebody who isn't in love with her. So she says, I know you're not sorry. Why should you be? Because who am I to be in love when your love is never for me? And then Unbreakable by Madison. So there could definitely be something about a breakup or a one-sided love for you coming up in November, which is sad. It's not a message I want to deliver, but again, we need to see it for what it is, right? To protect ourselves and to have integrity and to have, you know, self-love, to not be taken advantage of by other people and to see things for what they are. Sometimes that's really important. So it says, do you feel like you just can't take no more? Broken heart, all your pieces on the floor, like you're running out of breath trying to find yourself. We're going to run through fire like we've never been burned. We're going to laugh out loud like we've never been hurt. We're going to shout it out to the edge of the world. We're unbreakable. So that made me think of Libra and Capricorn, because those are themes that have come up for them quite a lot. Same Old Energy by Kiki Rockwell. Again, Kiki Rockwell's music videos can be quite creepy. It's a very creepy song. So it says, mass hysteria and false accusation, our strange domination got no explanation. As fear plagues the nation, your whole congregation say they should be caged in, these women of Satan. Yes, there's masturbation, some ego inflation, but really it's just shadows just congregating. So act on temptation and live by sensation. This is the reason you came to creation. Same old energy, baby, history repeats. They'll march you through the streets. They fear what they don't know. You've burned this way before. So it's talking about like the witch trials and false accusations, right? So kind of like a Crucible. Maybe somebody's going watching the stage play, The Crucible by, is it Arthur Miller? Then you got American Horror Show. So you've got a bit of a theme here, Geminis. By Snow Wife. Monster, I'm a stone cold monster. I could be your little monster. I kiss freaks that treat me like an animal. F on me and eat me like a cannibal. I miss fish, that Rocky Horror Picture Ho. They call me an American Horror Show. Deal with the Devil was the next song, and it's 2222. So again, it could just be because everybody's watching spooky stuff at the moment, but I don't know what you're doing, basically, Gemini. I don't know your life. I don't know what you're dealing with. I'm just telling you what's been coming through. I did a deal with the devil in my bedroom. Yeah, I sold my soul to forget you, and the things we do, I needed to forget you. But Lucifer is a certified trickster, shouldn't have done a deal with the devil, but I was desperate. Sitting in my bed all alone, getting wasted. Yeah. The Bandit by the King of Leon, which is like, gotta catch the bandit. The devil in me. You said I would have hit the ceiling. You said I should eat my feelings, head held high. I won't take anyone down if I crawl tonight, but I still let everyone down when I change in size. Yeah, and then the song for your reading was Shake It Out by Florence and the Machine. Oh, I'm getting really warm now. So yeah, I don't know if you've been messing with, like Aries. Aries had this as well. And again, it is the season, right? People are messing with things that they wouldn't normally mess around with. You know, like whether you've been on like a ghost hunting thing or something like that. Aries had it, the idea of kind of like, I may have brought something home with me, or have messed with something that I shouldn't have messed with. You could also be experiencing this. Again, I think it's a common thing for, if people are doing something like Ouija boards. I don't do Ouija boards, like they freak me out. You know, and you know, this isn't something you'd normally do. You know, the point of it is to scare you. So, but again, if you're having a hard time shaking that, and if you're feeling like, you know, something's messing with you, or you can't trust your own mind, I do think it is important to, well, get some rest. I was really seeing like the Four of Swords for you. You know, sometimes what you need is a good night's sleep, but again, not being able to sleep when you need sleep is a bit of a thing as well. So yeah, just look at things like, obviously alcohol use, you know, uh, different kind of substances that you're taking. Are these really helping or really hindering? So things like alcohol, yeah, they can knock you out in the short term, right? You can drink yourself unconscious, but actually what that's doing chemically to your brain and your body is going to make it harder for you to get really good quality sleep, and not just in the short term, but in the long run as well. It messes with your brain chemistry. I know this. I went through a phase where I drank too much. I went loopy. And then I stopped drinking and my brain kind of healed, right? And I felt like my mental health got a lot better and I became a different kind of loopy. So, yeah, it's kind of like pay attention to what you're putting in your body. Is it altering your brain chemistry? And be honest with yourself about that. I think this is here in your reading is a moment of like looking in the mirror. Um, and really not making excuses for yourself. I don't know what this is, Gemini. Again, take it or leave it. It could be somebody around you. But when I was in meditation, between readings, I kept on getting this thing about mirrors. Um, and with the Seven of Air, which I knew was going to come out, and it's in the middle of your reading, it's got this feeling of self-deception, right? Not seeing yourself clearly, not seeing your reflection clearly. It could be something about filters as well. Like it's very common. So I use filters. I like playing around with them because I like, that I can be like different characters with different filters. But there could be something there as well in that basically there's something through about every character we play is an aspect of ourself, right? And again, going back to that idea of right, the different personas we put on, the different masks we put on in different ways. So this could be really down to earth and practical for you. It could just be like, I act a certain way around my parents, and I act a certain way around my friends, and I act a certain way around my co-workers. And this is very normal, right? It's just a human way of adapting to different situations. We're meant to do this. So it's kind of like, the way we might behave with our best friends on a wild night out might be very, very inappropriate in front of our parents or in the workplace. So again, it's normal to kind of not be fake or false, but show a different aspect of who we are in different situations. So again, I think there is a difference with chameleon energy, which is very Gemini, to be a chameleon. The idea of kind of like, if you're like, is it false and is it manipulative? Because this is a manipulative card. And remember, I'm calling myself out here because I've got a Gemini moon, right? And your moon is your hidden you, right? Your moon is you behind closed doors, you behind the persona, where your sun is a little bit, which is interesting because we've got that here, right? So maybe this is this part of the reading, right? The sun is kind of like the performance aspect of you, the surface level, the mask, right? Because sun is like Apollo energy, so it can be to do with like theatre and how we want to be perceived. So even if you're not literally like an actress or a performer, think about, and again, just be really honest with yourself. Think about the images that you're posting on social media and why you're choosing those, and what are you trying to say about yourself. So again, if this is like you going for a job interview, maybe you don't want to be the creepy goblin boy on TikTok, right? If you kind of like trying to get like a bank job, people are going to look at that and be like, I'm not sure you quite fit the vibe of the company. Or and maybe you don't care about that. I'm the sort of person, like, I just like to be who I am. And I don't really want to hide my weirdness. I'm quite comfortable with my own weirdness. And maybe I don't want to be in a bank job, so that sort of thing. But again, it could even be like, see, I know Geminis who have a very, very cozy family, and this is an aspect of Geminis. I'm not saying that this is false in any sort of way. I think actually Geminis are very, very family orientated. Every Gemini I've ever known, like, really, really cares about the family. Funny ways of showing it, but they really do deeply care about the family. The ends of the earth kind of love for the family, especially like children. Like, thinking of a girl I used to know who just adored her nieces and nephews. So it could be that you're putting forward a very, very kind of like cozy family, wholesome vibe, but you've got the darkness underneath, you've got that devil side, and maybe that devil side wants to come out and play. So these are all, again, I'm not validating or invalidating anything. I'm just giving you something to think about and something to be self-aware of. So how do you play different roles in front of different people in your life? What is your online presence, and what does that say about you? And is it what you want to be saying about yourself, or have you fallen into some kind of loop of like the social media peer pressure where you're posting what people think you want to post, where and it could be actually kind of inauthentic to yourself. Um, trying to guess what, especially if you're counting likes or counting views, or, you want that engagement, if you're posting stuff that feels a bit more authentic and nobody cares, that can be actually quite hurtful, because it's like, oh, I'm not good enough. My real self isn't good enough. So I guess I'll do what everybody else is doing because that gets me more engagement. Where, I think that is a bit of a trap. I think that is a bit of a, we're doing ourselves a disservice when we start to do that. And again, it depends, right? If it's a business, you want to get as many clicks and views and engagement as you possibly can. But if it's a personal account, then I think it's more important to be authentic and let the people who are trying to find, you know, we don't have to be everybody's two of cups, right? We don't have to, you know, if we fall into that trap of trying to please everybody all the time, we're never going to please everybody all the time. We're always going to fail because people like different things. And if somebody's out there, say it's like your soulmate, and when I say soulmate, it could be, a romantic partner who's like the one for you, or it could even be just like a best friend who really vibes with you. The people who are like your soul family, they can't find you if you're putting a mask out, if you're being something you're not on social media, right? Or dating sites. If you are giving people what you think they want, it feels quite Libra. This is a bit of a Libra thing to do. I've got a Libra sun. It can be harder for the right people to find you because maybe they're not looking for little Susie homemaker, right? Who like, there's 100,000,000 little wholesome Susie homemakers who are just pretty and do cute baking videos and things like this. Like, there's so many of them. It's not special. It's not new, right? So maybe, that freak side that you've got, which everybody has, everybody's got a little freak in them, right? Maybe that little freak, and it could just be like you really, really like. They're showing me pogs. Oh god, that's so old. I'm really showing my age now. Like, they were like these little like the like playground trends, like Tamagotchis, or in the really olden days it was like tacks, like you throw the tacks. So pogs were similar to tacks, right? You'd get them and you'd like throw them down and you try and like hit everybody else's, and the more you hit, the more you got, something like that. I wasn't into it myself personally, but I remember it being a big thing. And so they had all like, I think they were like little monsters on or something like that. Each little disc had a different monster on. Yeah, pogs. That's such an old thing. Hang on, I just want to kind of show you what pogs were because I'm explaining it badly. Hold on. Here you go. So apparently people also called them slammers. But yeah, pogs. They look like badges, don't they? That's so funny because I haven't thought about pogs for the longest time. And so for that to come out in your reading, that is definitely 100% a message for somebody. That is so funny. Okay. I can't remember what I was saying with that. It totally distracted me. Okay, going back to my notes, there could definitely be something about, okay, so let's have a look at my cards here. There's something dark about this. I think because you've got the laurel tree, Dionysus, and Pluto, it has this feeling of, because what Pluto, the planet's doing at the moment, and I talk about this all the time, it's quite a big deal, to be honest, kind of a big deal. Pluto's moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. Finally, it's in not in retrograde anymore. It's done. It's moving out of Capricorn. That phase is over. Pluto's a generational planet. It sits in a sign for like something like 8 years, is it? I can't even remember how long it sits in a sign, but it spends a long time in each zodiac sign, and it has this generational effect on the world, right? The collective. And it's moving from Pluto into Aquarius. Now, I associate Starman energy with Aquarius energy. So this is really talking to me about that transition between the two, and how Pluto is a destroyer energy. So it's an analyst and it's a destroyer. So it's like a detective. So whatever sign it's moving through, it really, really analyzes that. And again, you might be like, oh, nothing to do with me. No, it is, because if you look at your birth chart, you've got 12 houses, and the planets move around the 12 houses. So it's really important for you actually to go and look at where Pluto's been, like which house it's been in for you in your birth chart, because it's like whichever house it's in, it takes this real, it's like a very, very, almost like laser mind detective look of whatever house it's in, and each house kind of controls different aspects of your life. So like there's a house that controls things like marriage and work and money and travel. So yeah, just it has this feeling of like because it's scorpionic energy as well, it's associated with like tower moments. Hello, my cat's here. um so it tests the foundations of these things, and if anything's faulty, if anything's not fit for purpose, it destroys them, right? And it can be it's liberating. They're giving me a real it's something about my arm, something I don't know what this is with my arm, but they're giving me this. It's like it's almost like opening a door, right? It's like liberating, expansive. If you've been feeling kind of trapped by something that was no longer suitable for you. So it's actually a very, very positive energy. It just has this, it does it in a very scary, destructive way. And then Starman. So I've been getting star energy a lot. And I don't think it's necessarily for you, Gemini. I actually feel like it could be for Capricorn. And you've got this, which is reminding me of like the Queen of, like the Nine of Pentacles or the Queen of Pentacles. There's something Capricorn-y about your reading. But it's something about like, and again, because I think Pluto's moving from Capricorn into Aquarius, I've got this feeling of, how do I explain this? So Pluto and Starman, these two cards specifically for me are, I say the two of my guides, right? There's something that comes through in meditation a lot for me. And I'm not saying it's the Pluto, but it's symbolism. And so the Pluto energy tends to be in the Capricorn cave, like deep, deep underground. And they had something in their reading about going down and kind of like continuing to go down until you hit rock bottom, and then pushing through the rock bottom. It's like we're going deeper underground, that Jamiroquai song. And then they had a portal, right? So it's almost like they felt like they had to go in the opposite direction or resist where almost like Saturn, who's Capricorn's ruling planet, was pushing them to. But it's like when they got almost like pressed up against the door, that's when the door would open and a new route would open up for them. And so that's kind of what that was talking about for me. But there's also something with Pluto, Laurel Tree, Dionysus, and I think Queen as well. There's something about overindulgence, or you've actually got misuse of power. So my cards came out first and then this card came out, and I thought, yeah, that's what I'm picking up on, right? The right use of power. So I feel like there could have been a misuse of power in some way in your life. I don't know. There's a lot of cards there. Make of it what you will. It does feel quite confusing. It could be a situation that's very confusing for you. But yeah, you had It's Always Darkest Before the Dawn, right? From that Shake It Off song with Florence and the Machine. I've got It's Hard to Dance with the Devil on My Back, so Shake It Off. So the Pluto energy for me in meditation is kind of like, there was an imposter there. I was like, no, this isn't my, it's like I went to the place where I would normally meet with that energy to get the messages, right? And it wasn't Pluto, right? It wasn't my Pluto, it was an imposter. And so I kind of, my reaction was to kind of like demolish the place, and then and basically get out of there as fast as I could. I was like, oh, this is trickster energy, right? I can't, and you've got the trickster card. I know it doesn't make much sense, guys. It's hard for me to sometimes, I'm still quite new to this. It's hard for me to interpret the messages, but yeah, I feel like it's some kind of message for you, right? So it's like the trickster's here. I realize that it's a trickster. So I've got to get out of there, right? This is not, it's almost like meeting a doppelganger or something. It's like, no, there's something off with this person. Like I'm being tricked here. And then like, just like getting out of there, like I shot off like out. And then I ended up in the sky, right? I actually was in a bubble. I was in a bubble, and it was like a protective bubble with kind of like the true guide and with this kind of Starman energy. So it's funny that you've had that. That's kind of coming out in your reading as well. So it must be a message for you. And then being in the stars, right? Being safe and being in the stars. I don't know. But the star card keeps on coming out in relation to that. Looking for heaven for the devil in me. Now, this made me think of Taurus's reading, because Taurus had what felt like an epiphany. It felt Like, imagine you thought you were never going to get accepted into something. Imagine that you're the black sheep of the family, and you always felt like you were bad, or you were evil, or you'd done things that were wrong, or you were the one that had a lot of shame. And imagine this idea of like, I'm never going to get into heaven, right? I'm never going to get into heaven because I'm the bad one. And then St. Peter calling your name and the gates opening, and you having that, like you being loved and you being accepted and you being approved, or I'm hearing approved, that's a word that I'm being told, or you being unconditionally. So again, it could, for them it was coming through like it could be a university offer, right? Unconditional offer to university. And you never thought you were going to get in, right? You never thought you were good enough. So it was this really overwhelming feeling for Taurus of acceptance and gratitude for being accepted, you know. Um so yeah, that's kind of coming through, this idea of it's always darkest before the dawn, and looking for heaven for the devil in me, right? Looking for acceptance for something that's difficult about myself, is coming through. Okay, there's stability. You could be thinking about stability, looking for stability. Again, I had that feeling of kind of like being carried and being safe by the masculine, right? By the masculine. So you could be looking for a father figure, or looking for an energy. I think it was in Taurus's reading that I was talking about how in one of my meditations I felt like I was a baby in like my father's arms. And it could be parent as well, it could be mother, but I felt like so safe and so protected, like, like full belly, safe, warm, comfortable, and falling asleep. Like, how would that feel to be that baby in your father's arms? Um, so that's kind of in your reading as well there. Discipline and time under that. It's kind of like to be, maybe this, if you identify as masculine, or this is talking about your masculine side, it could be like, how do I provide that stability? How do I provide the firm foundations? How do I make my children feel safe and grounded and protected? And it can be about stability, right? And it can be about discipline and time, but not discipline in like a Saturn kind of tough love kind of way, but in the positive way of these are the rules, these are the consequences for the rules, and not being too heavy-handed with that, but making the rules quite clear, saying like, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. If you do something that's unacceptable, I'm gonna take away your gadgets for 3 days, whatever it is. I do recommend a softly approach. It could be something to do with work. You've got work and sacrifice under that as well. So something about the sacrifice it makes to make something stable, right? The time and effort you put into your work to create stability for your family. It could be something like that. The World card and the Five of Air and Temptation. Yeah, there's something not right about something. I'm hearing miss the boat. So there could be something about... So I'm just looking at all this underlying. I've not seen this until now. With the World and the Five of Air and Temptation, it's like there was conflict about something that was tempting. And I want to say it was something to do with money. And there could have been a certain person there that was a big draw for you. And I want to say... I mean, the World talks about closing out a cycle, and the Eight of Water talks about kind of missing out on something. The Wheel of Fortune can be something coming back around. I feel like there was an offer on the table, and there was some conflict around that offer in the past, right? There was some devil energy attached to it. It wasn't right. That offer could be coming back around, because I want to say that you see what you missed out on, right? It could be money, or a person, a collaboration, a friendship that could be very beneficial in some sort of way. Yeah, it's kind of like the boat's coming back to pick you back up, because you had to say no the first time because there was some kind of devil energy attached to it, something like that. The Father Gate, bold step forward. Taurus had this with the Joyful Muse and the authentic mask. I love this. This is talking about trial and error, especially because you've got the page, the Messenger of Air, and details with that as well, and making a choice. So it's kind of like Follow the leader. Okay, you've got quite a lot of stuff here. Father Gate, the Muse, and the Many Masks. This talks about these two cards are very Gemini for me. It's very experimental. It's very playful. It's very creative. It's like trying things on. Because if you, it's talking to me about the importance of role play with children. Children role play a lot as part of their natural game playing. They might pretend to be a doctor, or pretend to be a policeman, or even pretend to be things like a robber, or something that's not so good. They might like pretending to be the bad guy in a movie, and you might be like, oh God, what does this mean if my kid wants to be Scar rather than Mufasa, or Simba? It's kind of like, oh God, my kid keeps running around pretending to be Scar. Why is Scar his favorite character? But it's like, it's okay, because it's all part of a child's development and learning what they can be and learning what not to be, and the consequences of that. So in a safe environment, right, it's safe for that child. If that child is like pretending to be the bad guy and not actually doing any harm, right, they're just kind of role playing as the bad guy, it's because they feel safe enough to let that part of themselves show in that environment. So don't stop them, right? Because that part of themselves needs creative expression, and they're doing it in a really healthy way. So don't shut that down or tell them that's something they can't be. So for example, say you're particularly religious and your kid wants to be a witch on Halloween and run around and kind of like make potions and magic spells, and you're like, that's very much against my religion. No, I'm not having that. Don't say no, because guide them, give them context, be like, hey, here's my thoughts and feelings about witches. If you still want to dress up as a witch for Halloween, that's absolutely fine, but don't be doing any actual spell casting in my house. Like, pretend is fine, but no Ouija boards in the house. It can be something like that, where it's like, I'm just really uncomfortable with it and it's disrespectful to my beliefs, so I'm okay for you to kind of dress up and play around, but don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. It could be something like that, because again, it's important for us to, it's like trying something on for size, right, and figuring out that it doesn't fit, or figuring out the consequences of that, where if we shut it down and we say, no, you can't experiment with that, you have to be what I tell you to be, the need and the desire to is always going to be there. The temptation is always going to be there. And your kid's going to get to the teenage years and like they're going to double down on it and they're going to get uncontrollable. It's like, as soon as they flee the nest, they're going to be like full on satanic worshiper. And you're going to be like, oh, I should have let them dress up as a witch for Halloween. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like somebody who's too tyrannical, the children rebel against that, right? Because they need expression. They need to figure things out on their own sometimes. So this has that feeling of, the positive side of experimentation, the positive side of, okay, I'm going to figure this out, but I don't really know how, right? I don't know how to get to where I want to go yet. So I'm going to take my time and I'm going to try things on for size, and I'm going to, it could be something as well, like, like the school system in the UK, when you get to high school, they teach you a big variety of subjects. And it's just like a taster sometimes. It's like they might do music for a term, and then they might do graphic design for a term. And so then when they get to take the GCSEs and they get their options, they can say, oh, I really enjoyed graphics. I really enjoyed that. That's what I want to do. But it's like, how do they know if they've not tried it, right? If they haven't experimented, how did they know what to choose when it comes to their options? So this has that feeling of kind of like, okay, it's time to start making steps forward, right? It's time to start moving towards one of these options. And it's like, you don't actually have to make a choice necessarily. You can, it's like, look at the details of it, find out more information, experiment more, maybe go and do like taster days before you kind of like double down and make that choice. But then it has follow the leader, which does feel like the advice could be do what everybody else is doing, or the temptation is to do what everybody else is doing, because it's kind of worked before, right? If a lot of people are doing it, it's probably, the dog next door is barking. If a lot of people are doing it and a lot of people have had success from that, then it's kind of like a tried and tested method then coming to life. But again, slow and steady. It's like, go slowly, right? So it's like, just ease yourself into this, really pay attention to the details. Don't jump into it like the Knight of Wands, right? Be the Knight of Earth, the Knight of Pentacles, the beloved, the mystical shaman, and Pachamama. Something about the earth, respecting the earth, respecting where we came from. Like it could be something about heritage, but like heritage of the land. Okay, God, sorry guys, my joystick's in the way. So your actual reading, so you start with the sun card. Again, the sun's a really good card. So you could start November feeling really, really happy actually. You could be putting yourself out there. You could be in the spotlight in some sort of way. It's kind of like harvest time kind of thing, or make hay while the sun shines, that kind of thing. It's kind of like make the best of the sun. But there's something about it. Can you see he's wearing a mask? So the cards came out like this. So on top of each other like this, but I'm going to put them side by side. So the sun and justice, but the hermit card with this closed door, it feels like there's some kind of revelation happening behind closed doors, right? Justice is about truth. It's about getting to the bottom of things. It's about making things right. It's about integrity. And the sun card also carries these meanings. It's about everything's in the light of the day, right? Everything's in the sun. Everything's seen clearly. So there could be something where behind closed doors in some sort of way, it could be something like, I mean, the Justice card and Hermit, all this shut doors, and especially because it's followed by the Curse card, and you see there's like a hand over the mouth. It could be something like NDAs or, that's non-disclosure agreements, like a contract that says you're not allowed to talk about something, which again was in that TV show. But it could be something about, it could be some kind of court process. This was coming up a lot recently where it's kind of like, while this is going through the courts, while this legal situation is happening, nobody can talk about it, right? It has to be kept within this room, right? It can't be spoken out about outside of these doors. But that feeling like a curse, right? That feeling like, for a while I was getting this thing about somebody who's on a jury, like a long jury trial. And sometimes there can be I don't know what they call them. It can be to protect the people, right? Because while you're on trial, right, you've not actually been found guilty of anything. And if it's something where, people find out that you're on trial for this, there could be a lot of backlash, or there could be a lot of, repercussions, especially if you've been falsely accused of something. So to protect the witnesses, or to protect the person on trial, or to even protect the jury. Sometimes you're not allowed to discuss the case outside of the courtroom, right? And then when the verdict is decided upon, that's when people can talk about it. Sorry about the trucks and things going past. So it could be something like that where, like a court order, like a court silencing. You're not allowed to talk about this publicly, but it's being investigated behind closed doors, right? It's being like justice is being served, like the things are being seen for what they are, but you can't talk about it yet, which could be very difficult if you're on a very difficult case, and it's kind of like, I need to talk about this for my mental health. Or if it's something like, I don't know, maybe the court has like people that people can talk to. I don't know, I've never been on a jury. Or it could be something like, if you've been accused of something and you're not allowed to talk about the trial, right? Or if you're prosecuting even and you're not allowed to talk about the trial, and that being very difficult, right? Because especially if you want to like clear your name, that could be a thing. But yeah, the curse card, it really feels like, it's almost like, with the sun being kind of like sometimes being in the spotlight, it's kind of like Leo energy, all eyes on you. That can feel like a curse. It can feel like a curse to have to be a public performer, or somebody who's very well known, or even if this is just you and your social group, right? Just everybody knowing your name kind of thing, and everybody knowing your business can be really difficult. And sometimes you do just want to kind of, especially if that comes with expectations of who you should be or how you should act. So the temptation to just kind of like lock yourself away, or go into hermit mode and be behind closed doors, so that you can let different parts of yourself kind of come out to play almost, I don't know. So the serpent card with these two snakes, it has the feeling of being pulled in two different directions. And again, it could be you and somebody else. It could be you, like two different people. But I want to say it's you. It's almost like your sun and your shadow, like your persona and your shadow kind of being at odds with each other, having some kind of conflict there where there's who you should be and who people expect you to be and who you need to be. Again, especially because you've got the beauty card, which talks about kind of like the surface level beauty and the mask. You know, it could be like, I can't leave the house unless I've got my makeup on, because it makes me think of the Kardashians, right? You know how the Kardashians have this really, really curated brand image of themselves. You know, their Instagram posts, their social media, whenever they're seen out in public, they're always in full makeup, right? They're always, the pictures are normally touched up. The try to avoid kind of like paparazzi pictures unless they've kind of tipped them off first, you know, unless it's kind of like we want the paparazzi to be there. And they've even gone as far as like having people take down photos and closing accounts and things like that if it's a photo they don't want to be seen, allegedly. I don't know, I'm not an expert on Kim Kardashian trials and law and courtrooms, but you know, this is the popular conception of them. So let's just talk about that as kind of like a metaphor, whether it's true or untrue. Again, just being really careful with what I'm saying here. But you know, beauty influencers in general, the idea of getting themselves into a trap where, you know, if their online presence and their brand is very, very curated, and they always look perfect online, you know, it's kind of that feeling of like, maybe this is where the agoraphobia comes out, because it's kind of like, well, if I need to pop to the shop for a bottle of milk, I don't want to go out with no makeup on and like with greasy hair, because if the paparazzi gets a picture of me, you know, it's going to be like, it's going to ruin my brand. So it's almost like a catch-22 of that kind of thing. Again, I love seeing influencers, you know, posting those pictures online themselves of, you know, people with acne, you know, and like, especially because I've suffered from acne. So to see somebody who I think of as being very, very beautiful and to have them go, hey, I've got acne too. So to say Haley, what's her name? Haley Cahill. She's like a Sports Illustrated swimwear model. She's gorgeous. And she's posted pictures of her acne, of her cellulite. Stephanie Lang is great for this. Taylor R, who's a model in Asia. All very, very beautiful women. And, you know, they will say, look, here's a picture of me not looking that great. Here's a picture of me that I don't like sharing. And I think that's very brave. And I think it's really good for women's mental health. And if men do this too, that's really good. Um, yeah, time to replenish. It has that feeling of like I'm doing now. Like I said to my boss, I was like, I need to, at the moment, I just need to sleep. It's half term for my kids, and I just, you know, not having the alarm go off and not having to get up and not having to do that grind, and just being able to kind of wake up at my own time. I've really, really needed to do that. And I need to spend time behind closed doors. I need to spend time in my home. I need to kind of like hoover, and, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, just having the time to do what you need to do to do that. Maybe this is why we've got that kind of Capricorn energy coming through of like doing the self-care, the Nine of Pentacles energy. The Queen of Pentacles is the self-care queen. So see if you've got Capricorn placements, right? And draw on that, you know, use that. Do the self-care, do the spa day. But then again, like it has that feeling of, because here's the self-deception. And here's where, especially because it's with Wizard of Awareness and the realization, and then this coming together, because you've had this feeling of your public self and your private self being pulled apart. Here there's this kind of eye to eye, like it's kind of like getting back to the center ground. If you felt very, very polarized, this feels a bit like the moment where you look yourself in the mirror, right? You really, really stand there in front of the mirror and you see maybe no makeup, right? Maybe take the makeup off and really being honest with yourself. I want to say that like self-acceptance as well, of being like, no, this is the real me. And, you know, I think there's something with women where there's a dialogue where, you know, maybe we've moved away from it a bit, but I remember, you know, when Instagram was kind of like the main platform, there was a trend where people would be like hashtag no filter, right? And it's kind of like the barefaced makeup, but like, and that's the thing as well. A lot of women who post the kind of like, this is my natural look, no filter, no makeup, and like the men are all like, oh, she looks great with no makeup. The women are all like, no, she's got a ton of makeup on, guys. She's just got the no makeup look. like you know, like people who use makeup can see it. People who don't use makeup perhaps can't see it quite so easily. Um, but yeah, it's there's something about that, right? There's something about it's not inauthentic for a woman to wear makeup. If a woman wants to, I don't know, do her makeup in a certain way, do her hair in a certain way, and put on a certain mask and put on a certain persona, it's not that there's anything false about that. It's that there's an aspect of that woman who that needs to be that wants to come out and play, right? So it's kind of like if you dressed up as Jessica Rabbit, your sexy side might be coming out to play. If you dress up as a witch, you know, the kind of slightly diabolical side of you might want to be seen. And so there's nothing false about it. It's always a different aspect of that person coming forward. It's just that people aren't one-dimensional characters. People aren't a brand, right? They're not a marketable one-dimensional brand Barbie. They are multifaceted, complicated people with a whole range of emotions and a whole range of personas that want to come out and be seen sometimes. So it has that feeling of like, especially with this here, right? It's kind of like trying different makeup techniques. You know, it's very Gemini. It's very chameleon. So a really good example of this is Kylie Minogue. Some of her older videos, there's Confide in Me. If you watch the music video for Confide in Me, or there's another one as well. I did it again, you did it again. Those two music videos, she looks like, you know, it's always her, it's always Kylie, but she's kind of like role playing all these different aspects of herself, you know, these different versions of Kylie. And that's very Gemini. Kylie's a Gemini. To be adaptable and to wear a lot of masks is very Gemini. To be a chameleon, and that's not inauthentic if that's who you are, right? If who you are is an adaptive person who likes to try different things on and be a different person on a different day depending on your mood, that's not inauthentic. That's just people not being able to handle your multifacetedness. So I think there's something about that there. You know, you wouldn't expect, you know, I think this is something that actors and actresses experience where, you know, if they play a certain role and that role becomes very popular. So, for example, Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, or let me think, like even like Margot Robbie, right? She could have very easily been typecasted, perhaps as somebody like Harley Quinn. You know, if you play this character and it's a very well-known character, it's a very popular character that people really love, it's like they might always want that character from you, right? They might always want you to be that version of yourself. Where you know, people like, for example, Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe has been very clever because he's kind of subverted those expectations. I wonder what his star sign is. I wonder if he's got Gemini in his chart. So yeah, I think he might be a Leo, or is that Harry Potter? Harry Potter might be a Leo. Getting them mixed up. But the idea of like subverting the expectations and doing something that's really against the grain, and avoiding that typecasting. I've got a Gemini moon, so I feel this. I'm a Sagittarius Mars. The idea of you know, a census taker tried to quantify me once kind of thing is like the avoiding of being stereotyped, the avoiding of being put into a certain box, because as soon as you're put into a box, you're confined by the box. So Gemini and Sagittarius being very free energies, I have a natural kind of alley-oop about this. It's kind of like a natural like a slithering out of it, right? Like maybe you get sorted into Slytherin house, I don't know. Gemini, it's like that. I feel like Aquarius as well. This is very Aquarian to be as soon as you, yeah, it's like tiptoeing out of the box. It's kind of like, no, don't define me by labels, don't define me by expectations. I'm going to subvert those. And I think there's something very creative and very powerful about that. But then again, it's like all these different aspects of yourself coming together, and understanding that you're not fragmented, right? That um, you're not the twins, right? You're not playing. It's not like every character that you play is a completely different person. It's that they're all just you in a different mask, right? They're all coming from the same place. There could be something like that about it. So again, the self-awareness of where you've been deceiving yourself. Um, Putting up boundaries, again, I feel like that could be maybe if there's something about in the spotlight, maybe you do have, a big following on social media. It could just be something about really defining your own space, so when I close the door, this is my personal space. I'm not going to be opening my door to journalists. I'm not going to be taking photos in my own house. It could be just making sure you've got those boundaries defined about what you do share and what you don't share, or who you let into your home and who you don't let into your home, that kind of thing. Now, Wizard of Awareness with the right use of power. This definitely feels a bit work orientated. Crown Games is a really interesting card because, again, it can talk about kind of like politics, who's in charge of the country, who has power, who doesn't have power, who has money and influence and who doesn't have money and influence, and how to use that in a responsible way. The Wizard of Awareness seems to be considering this, right? And with it being like the Three of Pentacles, it always gives me some kind of collaboration. I have the feeling of somebody looking at you and thinking, how does Gemini fit in here? Right? Gemini perhaps is not ticking the boxes. Maybe this is somebody who's looking to hire you and they're saying, okay, well, Gemini is definitely against the grain. They're not what we would normally hire. Again, if this is you applying to some sort of university with follow the leader, it's kind of like you're at the back of the queue and people are like looking at you and saying, oh, you don't really fit the normal criteria of who we accept onto this scheme, course, into this club, whatever it is, but you're interesting and we can see your potential. We can see your potential, Cat DeLuna. Is it Cat DeLuna? What's her name? It's a line from Pretty Woman. It's like we see your potential, right? We realize your potential. Like there's something, it's kind of like the other side of the mirror. There's something Alice in Wonderland about this. Like we can see how with the smoky mirror though, because again it's this idea of deception or self-deception. I think somebody could be helping you because they're looking at you, right? And they're seeing with right use of power, it feels like they're seeing something about you that they like, is the way it feels. But perhaps you don't see it about yourself with the smoky mirror. Again, there's definitely something with the smoky mirror and the Seven of Air. There's definitely some distortion or something that's not quite clear. And I want to see something that you're not seeing about yourself, right? It's something that you need to have an epiphany about. But this Wizard of Awareness, who doesn't feel like you, it feels like somebody else, but take it as it resonates. It's like they're seeing you and figuring out a purpose for you, right? Because perhaps you have been a bit of a misfit, right? Perhaps you've, a lot of the time, workplaces and, and getting this kind of scheme energy or this, like workplaces will come up with a strategy. And they'll be like, right, here's the strategy, who fits into our strategy? Here's the box, who fits in neatly into all these little peg holes? And you're not fitting into a peg hole neatly, right? You're kind of a weird shape, not physically, right? Energetically a weird shape, right? You're very changeable, but you're very, very creative. You've got a huge amount of creative potential. You're just not very, it's like maybe you don't fit in with the 9 to 5, right? Maybe you don't fit in with the, maybe you're not very good at showing up on time or showing up consistently, but you have really good ideas, right? So because I'm seeing you as like this person, right? You're very experimental, you're very creative, you think about things in a different way, and you bring a lot of new energy in, right? There's value to that. But you're carrying this kind of shark energy. So the story of this cut, right, it says purpose. The story of this is about a woman who would swim with the sharks, and where other people see the sharks as something that's very, very scary, right? Something to be avoided. She understood the nature of the sharks. And I'm not suggesting anyone swim with sharks unless it's like supervised and, you've got insurance and things like that. But it's talking about how somebody could be misunderstood, right? How I want to say you've been misunderstood, or you've been seen as something dangerous, right? You've been seen as a bit of a monster in some sort of way. But then I want to say there's somebody who's realizing how you can fit in. Like it's almost like finding the right peg-shaped hole, right, for your shaped peg. um yeah, and then actually your very unique abilities being able to be applied with some sort of specified purpose is the way that that's coming through. Endurance and rock. Now this is a funny card because it talks about those roots need nourishment, right? So there could be something where you feel like, although you've not had much nourishment, although you've not had much maybe support, maybe feels like somebody who's done very well at building themselves up, even though they've not had very good foundations. So it's kind of like thriving, unexpectedly thriving in an environment where you've not had very much help or support. And having to endure with that, right? Having to really, again, here's that bubble of self-protection, really having to protect yourself. And then it always gets a bit confusing later in the reading. I'll show you the cards. So the Bone Collector and the Void. You know how I was talking about how, it's like you bring something home with you and you feel like a spirit's followed you home. It sort of feels like maybe you go like antiquing, because the Void talks about the other space, right? The space that's not the 3D reality that we live in, but it's the beyond that. It's the sleep space, right? The dream space, the upside down or something. And then maybe it's like collecting records or something, like music and Bone Collector. Oh, it could be something about being very resourceful, right? So making something work even though you're really dealing with the bare bones of the situation. You're very good at, it's sort of like the grandma who can make chicken soup out of the bones of the chicken. Like most people would throw the bones of the chicken away, and the grandma's like, no, there's nutrients in this, like let's not waste it. Could be something like that, especially because you've got like the mystical shaman Pachamama, especially in the corn. It's kind of like, I love the corn card because it talks about your favorite thing, right? It's like, oh, this is my favorite thing, this is what I'm good at. And utilizing that, right? Utilizing something that other people would throw away. I don't know. It's 1 and 1 as well. Look, like you end with 1 on both of these cards. That's really interesting. I've only just realized that. That's the last 2 cards of the reading, 1, 1. Let's get a song for that, because I struggle. The last few cards of a reading, I tend to always struggle with. I'm like, what? Because I'm projecting a bit further into the future, right? It's kind of probably tail end of November. I'm like, what does this mean? Oh, you've got Angry Johnny by Poe as well. It's like, Angry Johnny, this is Jezebel from hell. It talks about revenge. Oh, do you know, maybe I need to talk about that, because this card, Bushfires and Fury, actually fell off the table. So it's talking about kind of controlling your anger. Like, anger isn't an option here. Like, your fury isn't the thing that should be utilized in this situation. So it's like kind of like it's like, slow down, look at the details. Like, don't fly off the handle. There could be something in November where it's like, don't fly off the handle. Can you hear that? That's my tummy, guys. I've not had breakfast yet. Wow. And look, she's got the 3 pentacles on from this card. She's like wearing 3 pentacle earrings. So something like, slow down, pay attention to the details. Do this in a really, really methodical, steady way. And don't just have a knee-jerk angry reaction, right? This is Jezebel from hell. It's like, I'm coming to get my revenge. It's like, don't do that. That's not the right way to do this. So tell me what this is. Tell me Explain this part of the reading for Gemini, please. Endurance, joy with music, Bone Collector and the Void. What is this? Comfortably Numb by Scissor Sisters. Well, that makes sense, right? Comfortably numb with the void. It's funny because in Taurus's reading, I was getting the word methadone. And I was talking, it's so funny how things come out. So I was talking in Taurus's reading about methadone and the opioid crisis in America. And then it was like, it's the whole overarching theme of, and again, this isn't a spoiler, it's very overt, of the fall of the House of Usher. It's kind of like that's their business, right? Is an opioid. Comfortably numb. Hello, is anyone there? Just nod if you can hear me. Is there anyone home? Come on now, I hear you're feeling down. Well, I can ease your pain and get you on your feet again. Relax, I need some information first. Just the basic facts. Can you show me where it hurts? There's no pain, you are receding. A distant ship floats on the horizon. You're only coming through in waves. Your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying. When I was a child, I caught a fever. My hands felt like two balloons, and now I've got that feeling once again. I can't explain. You would not understand. This isn't how I am. I have become comfortably numb. Okay, it's just a little pinprick. There'll be no more, but you may feel a little sick. Can you stand up now? I do believe it's working. Got to keep it going through the show. So it's about somebody who's being medicated. It makes me think of, again, I can't think of any specific performer, but I think it's kind of quite common in the music industry because you have got music here. And I was listening to the guy from The Darkness. I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name. Justin Hawkins. Yeah, he's got a podcast, I think, Justin Hawkins Rides Again. I don't normally listen to it, but a video caught my eye where he was talking about the misuse of substances in the music industry. And it's funny, I've been talking about Rusty Rockets as well. I don't want to say his name because he's so controversial at the moment, right? And how, not only was it seen as something that was everybody was doing it, right? So there's peer pressure there, but seen as something that is encouraged, the idea of, okay, you've got a show to do, right? Get up, take what you need to get through it. And that being something that's very, very unhealthy and not something that's good for the person in the long run. So again, the theme of, like I say, I do channel what's in the popular consciousness, and if a lot of people are watching a new TV show, I do pick up on it in the readings. But that doesn't mean it's not also the experience of a huge amount of people. The idea of kind of getting hooked on something, or I'm terrible with caffeine, right? I'm like, I'm struggling to wake up here. I need a cup of coffee, but it's coffee, right? It's not that harmful. I mean, we could talk about the planet, the effect coffee production has on the planet, and whether I'm using sustainable sources. I think I am, actually. I think I've got that little, the little frog. It's like a little frog. I think I've got that on the boxes of coffee that I'm drinking at the moment. Anyway, I don't know. Take it as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But be very, very careful about people around you who are... Because the thing is, right, the person it's like the manager's going, hey, just have some of this, and go and give the performance. They're not looking at your best interests if they're doing that, right? What they want from you is you to give the performance so that they can get the money, right? And so you can keep on working. It's not really a good thing. Tommy's really rumbling. I need to go and get breakfast. Right, the best advice you've ever given for whoever needs it right now, please. A little respect by erasure. I swear I'm picking up on a Capricorn around you, or Capricorn placements. I think Capricorn had that song. Let me just check. Maybe it wasn't Capricorn. Who had it? Give me a second. I'm going to look up who had that song. I can't find it. It's really frustrating me as well. I can't see it in my notes. Did come across something else though, didn't I? I'm sorry, I can't find it in my notes. A little respect. Somebody had it. It's really bothering me that I can't find it. Um, what is funny though to me is, again, I kept on thinking this. Some of the songs that I've been getting recently, again, everything I've been channeling, like there was so many things from that TV show. So I think at the end of Capricorn's reading, they got the song Madeline by Kiki Rockwell, and then one of the main characters is called Madeline. And then there was something else as well that I was like, oh my god, I'm just channeling that TV show. There was another song, it was like exactly, I can't think. Right, anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted by my stuff. So a Little Respect by Erasure. I really love this song. Let's just pull the lyrics. A little respect. Maybe you just need to show somebody a little bit of respect. Maybe somebody's like, you know what, Gemini, I'm tolerating you. I'm trying to find a place for you here, but I need you to show me respect. Could be that sort of thing. I tried to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh, baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. That you give me no reason why you make me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no. Soul, I hear you calling. Oh, baby, please give a little bit of respect to me. And if I should falter, would you open your arms out to me? We can make love, not war, and live at peace with our hearts. I just love that line. I'm so in love with you. I've got a lot of Libra in my chart, guys. I'm Libra Venus. Like, you've got to put up with my soppy side. I'll be forever. What religion or reason could drive a man to forsake his lover? Like, love is God to me. My love is God. Making fun of myself. Like, to me, like, if you ask me what God is, it feels like unconditional love, right? It feels like that feeling of that feeling of like the sun coming out because you've found someone that you're absolutely in love with and they love you too. Like snow on the beach, weird but fucking beautiful, right? It's like that's the best feeling. And I think to me that's what it is. And not just romantic love as well, but that feeling of when you look at somebody that you love, and it could be a child, right? When you look at your child, your newborn baby in your arms, and you're filled with that absolute feeling of love, like that to me is, of course, it's just chemicals in your brain, right? But I don't know. I think we get to choose what we worship, and I worship that feeling of just absolutely adoring somebody. It's the best feeling. Um, so yeah, it can be toxic as well, right? It can be really unhealthy if you pour that love onto it. Again, I've got Libra Venus, so check out your Venus sign, guys. Libra Venus is very much like just idealizing, like having somebody up on a pedestal. And I've got Libra Mercury as well. So what tends to happen a lot is I love, when I first meet people, I adore them. I love them. Very rose tinted glasses, and not just romantic love as well, like friendship, affection. And you think that people are amazing. You think people are brilliant. You think you just love people, and then they fail and disappoint you and break your heart and become human, and you still love them. You still love them anyway, but a bit disappointing. Because the reality of long-term love is loving people for what's and all, right? It's like loving the worst side of people, especially your children, um, and loving the humanity of people, and that's a very mature kind of love. But you still have those moments where you look at them and you think, oh, I just fucking love you, right? It's like, I love you so much. You have those moments still. I don't know why I'm talking about that. It must be a message for somebody. I'm gonna go. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Tell people how much you love them, and I will see you again soon. Bye.